Hello again, guys. It is I, Freeza700. We are back with some Warhammer fantasy lore. This time we are talking about the Kroxigors. What are they? So, there's kind of been some lore conflicts. So, Kroxigors, as you can tell in like some pictures, they do look like just bigger Saurus, but they're not. And of course, thanks to the help of Total War, they've illustrated them more as alligator-like rather than the Saurus. Now, the Saurus are supposed to be crocodiles, but heavily modified to the point that they don't even look like alligators or crocodiles anymore. Kroxigors, though, they look very close to damn alligators. So, let's go over it. So, Kroxigors are typically big. And by how big? Well, a normal skink is around, 5 to 6 feet. A Saurus is around 8.5 feet tall. A Kroxigor is double the size of a Saurus. So we're talking about 17 feet tall, sometimes even bigger. There are some Kroxigors that are almost as tall as the damn Carnosauruses. Yeah, those big T-Rex looking things. So these guys could get really nasty and really big. After all, with alligators and stuff, we know that they don't have a growth limit. It's just by how much they eat. Now, as far as Kroxigors, it's limited by time, not about food consumption. So, that's nice. Now, aside from being crocodile-like, so they have that big, massive snapper, they are also very predatory in nature. So, a Saurus warrior is kind of more civilized. He's still a beast, and he's still a hunter, a predator, nonetheless. But he still has a brain that's able to understand and speak. A Kroxigor has less of that. So they have huge scales, so that gives them better protection. And they have massive muscles. These guys have definitely been bulking up. So, the only draw side is their small brain. Now, their brain seems to be small due to the fact that the old ones deemed it unnecessary to give them higher functioning. Which is rather interesting, because the most famous Kroxigor, Nakai the Wanderer, actually does have a higher functioning brain. He's still not that smart, but he's smarter than most. So let's talk about how smart exactly are they? Well, they're about the same mentality, I would say, as a dog. Now, they do form packs. They're very protective of skinks and other lizards. And they're extremely obedient to their betters, despite the fact that the ones who are ordering them around are around the size of a man. So, that to me strikes a lot of similarities with a dog. Because dogs, they don't understand size. They don't understand that, someone's, smaller than me, it's okay, I don't need to be afraid of them. Dogs don't get that shit. Kroxigors seem to be like the same mentality too. But it's not about threat that makes them obey the skinks. It's more of just mutual appreciation of one another. Now, the fact that they aren't disloyal like a dog can be, because mind you, dogs are loyal, but sometimes they're disloyal, especially when it comes to food. Your dog will abandon your ass. But the only reason why a Kroxigor would abandon you is due to anger issues. So they're kind of like a pissed off dog. Now, what could make them pissy? Well, if a skink dies next to them during a battle, they may actually just drop their weapons and bite or maim the fucker that killed the skink. Which, of course, presents problems. Like, one, how are you going to calm down the Kroxigor? And two, he just dropped his weapon, which is very crucial to him surviving. This, of course, makes it relatively hard to order around during battle. But, due to this, a lot of weapons that are in the Kroxigor's arsenal usually come with chains to bind them to their hands and their wrists, which are, of course, taken off after the battle. Now, speaking about their weapons, let's go a little bit more in detail about their weapons. They use a lot of heavy ordnance. So a Saurus warrior is able to carry around like a heavy mace or a heavy club. And a skink is able to carry about something that's about, 5 to 10 pound club, like a normal human. A Kroxigor, though, no. He carries something that's around, 200, 300, maybe even 500 pound fucking maces. Now, these maces could be forged out of bronze or gold. It kind of fluctuates depending on what kind of weapon it is. If it's more significant, like some from the old ones, it'd be more gold. But if it's just a regular weapon, it's probably going to be bronze. Now, others, the more primitive Kroxigors, just use kind of like a staff that has a giant boulder attached to the end of the staff. I mean, it's still effective nonetheless. Now, in order to give the Kroxigor this weapon, it takes around a dozen, which would be like 12 skinks or more, to lift up one of these weapons and actually escort it to the Kroxigor, who, of course, could pick it up one-handed and swing the shit around like as if it's nothing. Now, you may think, well, how effective is a weapon like that? I mean, after all, we see Native Americans who use like 30-pound, 40-pound clubs, and they weren't really too effective at all. Well, one blow from a Kroxigor, because not only is he carrying a heavy weapon, but he's also big enough that that heavy weapon isn't a hindrance to him. Well, one swing from this can reduce a man to nothing but a bloody mist, a bloody nothing. All of a sudden, the air is just full of red smoke. Yep, that's what remains of the guy. Now, how would this be used in a war scenario? What would prompt a Kroxigor to be deployed into battle? Well, if they're in dire need of it, they will definitely deploy the Kroxigors. And we'll get into that later as to why it would have to be a dire need. But as far as how they would be used, well, they're used as shock troopers. Sometimes. As they can ride into battle above the skinks and shatter enemy lines. Shatter their formations. Just utter demolish of any infantry that happens to be in their way. Now, when I say ride into battle on top of skinks, I don't mean like they're actually riding the skinks. No, that would crush the poor bastards. Besides that, I mean like the skinks are small. They're 5 to 6 feet tall. They're relatively small. So, since a Kroxigor is like 17 feet tall or taller, they don't mind walking alongside the skinks because every time they swing their weapon, they can actually swing it above the skink's head and not risk collateral damage. The only collateral damage will be on the enemy side. Now, the sheer threat of a Kroxigor kind of leaves the opponents with two options. Either die by a massive gator, or, well, focus on the Kroxigor while their face is getting stabbed or poisoned or javelined or spat poison darts at them from the skinks. So that's really your only two options if you're a swordsman for the Empire and you're literally in the front lines and here comes this big Kroxigor. Yeah, enjoy those two options because you only got about, 0.5 seconds to think about it. Now, the other use for Kroxigors is actually ambush predators. That's very interesting because in order to ambush people, you have to kind of have intelligence. But the way the Kroxigors ambush people, I actually think of it more as the river trolls in Warhammer, where they don't ambush you through sheer cunning. They just ambush you because you just happen to be in their territory, which is exactly how the Kroxigors do it. With Kroxigors, they can be ordered by skinks or Saurus veterans to specifically be in an area that the enemy's going to be, and the Kroxigor will definitely do it, and they will carry their weapon with them to make sure that they catch the fucker who comes into their water holes. But the way that they ambush is by either hiding in a mist, because sometimes the Slann will enact a ritual that makes this really dense fog mist that's very hard to see through, but the Kroxigors could see just fine. Or, the more common way, is they just simply sit in a water pool or in a water hole, and either their head will be sticking out, in which case you could see them, but only at the last minute, or their head's underwater, in which case they could see you, but you can't see them. That's fucking terrifying. But either way, they just sit there, and anybody who encroaches on their water, they will jump out and violently dismember anybody who is in their water. Now, they do not do this quickly or stealthily. In other words, if one of your guys just magically disappears, that's probably not a Kroxigor killing your guys. That's probably something much, much different. Because a Kroxigor will just burst out of the water and start swinging his axe, start biting people. It's going to be a fucking bloody, violent massacre. That's for damn sure. Now, aside from that, though, what would be the purpose of having a Kroxigor in a society like this? Because the old ones, they made Kroxigors before Chaos even invaded the world. So what purpose would the Kroxigors have served? Well, their main purpose, the main reason why they were created, was actually construction. That's right. They actually would build. They would help make these giant pillars, these giant pyramids. They would be the ones who would build. Now, I know what you're going to think. There are dinosaurs in the lizardman army. Why the fuck don't they just use the dinosaurs? The dinosaurs are way stronger than a Kroxigor. Well, they may be stronger, but they're not as smart, and that's the issue. Because Kroxigors, they're not as strong as a Stegodon, for sure. Stegodon could easily plow a Kroxigor down. But a Stegodon is too dumb to just look at a skink and go, oh, okay, he wants me to pull this block all the way up this ramp. No, that's something that only a Kroxigor could understand. Because Kroxigors do have a bit of a language, except their vocal cords are usually only used in a war cry. And their voice is very, I would say, similar, if not almost identical, to exactly what a real crocodile or alligator would sound like. If you don't know what they sound like, essentially the best way I could describe it is that they speak at a decibel too low for us to hear, but all we hear is just a little gurgling. Almost like your stomach is hungry and it's rumbling, but louder. And you can actually almost feel the percussions of the noise. Now that's pretty scary when you're trapped inside a mist and you can't see shit, and you can feel the roar rather than hear it. That's kind of nerve-wracking. But besides that, though, the Kroxigor is mainly used as a builder because of the fact that they're good at it. They're constantly working. Whereas a Stegodon, they're kind of more like wildlife. They really just prefer to just chill in the forest, eat some leaves, eat some people. They don't really want to be bothered. They will be used in times of war. They have no problem with that, as they understand it. Oh, okay, there's an enemy, I'm going to go fuck him up. But as far as building, that requires a bit of finesse. Now, speaking about finesse, that's where the skinks come in. The skinks usually ride along with the Kroxigors and tell them what to do, because skinks are the architects. They're smart enough to know, okay, in order to build this, we gotta stack 18 blocks in a perimeter. A Kroxigor isn't that smart. You can't just tell him, build a pyramid for me. He does understand that. But if you tell him, take that block and move it over there, he understands that very fucking well, and he will do it easily. Now, the nice thing is that after a Kroxigor gets done with that task, they get ready for the next task. Or they just go chill in a water hole till you need them. On the flip side, that's kind of a bad thing, because if you're in the middle of a battle and you tell the Kroxigor, okay, kill those guys over there, if he doesn't succumb to his primal instincts and just keep on killing, well, after he kills the guys that he was told to kill, he'll just drop his weapons and walk on over to a water hole or go do some task like build another thing. That's just the way they are. So with Kroxigors, you have to constantly keep reminding them after they finish one job, hey, we got another job here. Go do it. Don't just drop your tools. Pick that up again. Go over there, go do the next job. So that's nice, but again, they don't have the big brains needed to understand that there's a string of commands. It's almost like someone with dementia. If you tell them to do 3 tasks, they'll do task 1, they'll do task 2, and then they'll look at you and go, what did you want me to do again? Because they forget. Their brain isn't as smart anymore. Now with a Kroxigor, it's going to be a much similar thing, but much worse. It's going to be, okay, I took the block. Adios, I'm done. No. We still got 12 hours of daylight. Pick up another block, bring it over to the other area. Besides that, this has been Kroxigors Lore. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next time. Besides that, the next video will either be Nakai the Wanderer, now that you understand what a Kroxigor is, or it will be the Primarch Lionel Johnson. Either one, really. Besides that, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.